Okay, so this video is going to be about the excise tax on electric vehicles. So basically, we have a massive problem in this country regarding the Federal Highway Trust Fund. We've been running out of money every year on it since 2000. So that means a lot of our roads are degrading to a large amount. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, a lot of our roads are only operating at a D grade level, which is not good. And a lot of just road improvements is going to come down to having the money to do so. We're looking at a $2.5 trillion difference compared to what we need for our roads versus what we currently have. And a lot of that does come down to the fact that we are not collecting enough from the excise tax. So basically, how we collect money for this highway trust fund is through the gas pump. Each gallon of gas has a tax attached to it, and that collects both federal funds and state funds. So every time you fill up at the pump, you're contributing to increasing the dollars that we're getting. A massive problem is that we're not collecting enough tax revenue for the Highway Trust Fund. And that's because we haven't increased the Highway Trust Fund since 1993. With all the inflation that's taking place during that time, we're obviously going to be running into some budget constraints. Additionally, we have seen a lot better gas mileage from our cars. Now, it's not just the problem with the gas cars getting more efficient and with inflation, we're also seeing the rise of electric vehicles. Currently, at the federal level, electric vehicles are not contributing in any way to the Highway Trust Fund. So a lot of states are taking taxes out, but those are only helping state level roads. In my home state of Georgia, we're seeing taxes on electric vehicles, both through the annual registration fee, but also through the pump by charging an excise tax on every kilowatt hour used for electric fuel at electric charging pumps like those Tesla chargers you see around. The problem with these electric vehicle taxes is that they're not one-to-one with road usage. When you're paying for the gas excise tax, you're paying for the amount of gas that you're using, which correlates pretty well with the amount of road that you're traveling on, and therefore the amount of wear and tear that you're putting on these roads. That makes it a very great tax because you're paying for exactly what you're using. But with electric vehicles, because a lot of them are charging at home, we're not able to see what exact percentage of that electricity that's collected in the home is going towards transportation on the roads. So we can't have that same one-to-one that we can with the gas excise tax. And that creates a lot of problems with electric vehicle owners. A lot of these per annum taxes on electric vehicle owners are done so based on the average miles driven. And then this is changing a lot recently with the expanded power of electric vehicles, but often they're driving less than their gas counterparts. One thing that a lot of states and federal level are looking into is a road usage fee, just paying a tax based on the amount of miles that you've driven. Currently, 4 states, that is Hawaii, Oregon, Utah, and Virginia, have implemented some form of a road usage fee. These programs are all mostly just testing the waters. They're all opt-in. You can either choose to pay an annual fee or you can opt in to the road usage fee, and the fee is always capped at what the annual fee would be. So you're always saving money by doing the road usage fee. So even though these states have implemented them, it's very unlikely that it would take off to the same degree across the nation through a federal tax. And one of the big reasons for this is people just don't want to be tracked. When you're taxing at the pump, it's not correlated to where you're going. It's just literally a tax on the gasoline that you're purchasing. But a lot of these programs are using telematics, seeing where you're going, and looking into that car data that's getting collected. This creates a privacy concern for a lot of people and makes it less likely that many citizens would want it to be adopted nationwide or make it anything but an opt-in system. An idea that I've been thinking a lot about in a non-comprehensive way would be to start taxing autonomous vehicles using a road usage system. This way we can start collecting taxes on these electric vehicles and then also start solving some of the problems that these autonomous vehicles are causing on the roads. And why I think autonomous vehicles work so well is for a couple different key implementation factors. So the first is that we would only need to tax large fleets of autonomous vehicles like Waymos. Waymo is collecting all of these different data points throughout their system, and we would only need to go to Waymo themselves to tax them. It'd be far easier to just go straight to the person with all the data and say, hey, pay us the amount it costs for each of the miles driven. This is a lot simpler than going to every single person across the country and taxing them, especially because annual registration happens at the state level. I think that it makes more sense to go towards the providers that are tracking all the data. Additionally, I think a lot of people understand that there's less right to privacy when you're in a rideshare, whether that's through Uber or through a Waymo. You just understand that somebody's tracking you, somebody's watching you, and they know exactly where you're going. That makes it a lot easier to stomach the tracking that goes into these road usage fees. Another reason that we really need to start taxing autonomous vehicles is because they're creating new problems that we need to account for. We need to change a lot of the different ways that we're building our roads to help accommodate connected autonomous vehicles. That includes everything from improving networks, but also even repainting roads, improving signage. So these autonomous vehicles can always stay in the right lane and know when to stop. Everything just needs to be a little bit more crystal clear for these vehicles. Therefore, we should be taxing them a little bit more to account for those. Also, I think a far bigger problem is that there's going to be a massive rise of zombie vehicles. As Waymos and even semi-trucks become autonomous, they are going to start driving around because it's cheaper to drive around than find a place to park. That is going to do massive damage to our roads over the long term as they're driving around with no passengers, clogging space, and damaging our roads. Because of the increased congestion and increased wear and tear on our roads from these zombie vehicles, there should be a way to, if not punish them for doing so, at least recoup from the damages that they're creating. That's why it makes sense to tax these autonomous vehicles a road usage fee. Not only are a lot of these autonomous vehicles electric, but they're implementing a lot of new problems that we need to solve. So my solution to starting to tax autonomous vehicles is not going to fix the highway trust fund problem, but it will make a dent as we are starting to tax these electric vehicles. And then it also is forward looking on what the solution is for the future. So let me know what you guys think on whether or not we should start taxing these autonomous vehicles, whether going straight for the fleets or going directly to the individuals, anybody who's connected to an autonomous system. Should we start collecting autonomous road usage fees?